Is it something that's a nice to have, or is it fundamental? And I would say that it has the potential, if you look at it negatively, to be a showstopper for us. Not just it could drag the economy down, but think of the social consequences when there are people coming in with expectations and every desire and willingness to work, but they are not able to participate because their enablement to participate is not there. And that fundamentally comes down to preparation in terms of education and the necessary skills so they can be productive members. I think one of the other things is that so it should be obvious at this stage that I'm not talking about the IT industry. Yes, we have our own issues in terms of how do we ensure that there is a supply of talent going in to ensure the energetic growth of our industry so we go to the potential is actually a much larger challenge that we have as a society. And what this says is that we have to have a realistic view of how we look at capability development across the country. And it is not all about people getting college degrees, going to engineering schools, getting PhDs, etc. That is needed too. But if you look at in a normal distribution of capabilities, attainments, motivation, and what any society has, you have to take a layered look of how to look at capability development. And the most important part is really people at the largest part of the population segment, the base of the pyramid, which is vocational skills, so you can still productively engage, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's plumbing, whether it's tailoring, or what have you. And the other thing is that aspiration and motivation, in my view, are very powerful forces within a society. So we also need to think about moving from a culture where it's not about degrees, but it's about true capability. And a culture of mobility where no matter where I start as an individual, but if I aspire to go higher and I can demonstrate the attainment, build the capabilities, there are no barriers. And if we look at our country versus some other models that exist around the world, I think that should be clear. The other thing that's very ironical in our country is I think logically you do expect a pyramid where you have a broad base and then as people go to higher levels of attainment, it narrows down. But if you look at an analysis of colleges and engineering colleges, which is listed as the high end, and if you look at diploma awarding colleges, which is kind of the next layer, para-professionals, and then if you look at ITIs, which could go for a surrogate of vocational training, trade skills, they are the smallest. And I've actually looked at the numbers, and that pyramid looks upside down. It's the opposite of what it needs to be. And any economist or any realist will tell you that for any enterprise to sustain, that enterprise also has to have this layering of skills. So I think we need to think about this hard. And the conclusion I draw from this is that unless we address the fundamental layer, which is essentially where literacy comes in, and where vocational skills come in that allow large numbers of people to productively participate in the economy, I think we are misdirected. So to this point, this morning I happened to look at the paper, and it is the Times of India, Mumbai edition, Friday, February 15th, page 9. 1/3 of the country's youth are illiterate, the Tata Institute of Social Studies finds. According to a research paper released last week by TISS, which covered 593 districts across the country, 1/3 of the country's youth are illiterate and have little chance of entering the organized labor market and are largely excluded from economic growth. It goes on to say, while 1 in every 3 young people is illiterate, the report shows that the literacy rate for 27 districts is 2 out of 3. Even more than 1/3, folks. It's 2/3. And in 182 districts, it is 35% to 50%. So I think I hope that it is clear to all of us as serious thinking individuals that if we desire the future, we've moved into this as a fundamental imperative for us as a society. And all these grand celebrations and visions of economic growth, I think they're really good. I think they motivate us, but we need to also address all the necessary conditions that have to be met to be able to get there. Now, I'm not a pessimist. I'm fundamentally an optimist. I believe in the power of possibilities, and that's really what keeps us going. And I really think that there are possibilities around this. So I believe that ICT, or Information, Communication, and Technology, really provides the possibilities of some new models of extending the reach or the ability of young people to develop relevant capabilities, both at the literacy level as well as vocational skills, which doesn't make them degree-holding people, but if they aspire to it and they are able to go to the level of attainment, they remain productively occupied. And in fact, if that layer isn't there, a lot of the things that we are aspiring for the future cannot be sustained. So the reason why I think that this ICT, this must be a kind of a movement sensitive device. That's great progress, and I think. Because the solutions or innovative models that we come up with, we always have the issue of scale. Can I as a single person, or can you as a single person, how do you leverage the ideas or the capabilities that you bring? If it's one-on-one, it's going to be a very long and slow road. So the idea is, how can you take those ideas that are working, those new innovations, new concepts that are working, and extend the reach very rapidly, but in a way that is still cost efficient and is consistent. So it's not like in Bangalore you go to a school and they have great quality, and you go 300 miles into the interior or somewhere in Jharkhand, then you have a different implied level. This actually is a very democratic process and technology and potential that if we leverage it right, it truly can put things within reach of people. Terrain, diversity of culture, so you can see it. And it has, already we have proof points. So I'm not saying here's the silver bullet. I'm just pointing to certain fundamental concepts around which people have to then imaginatively build solutions, capabilities, etc., and try them out. Nobody knows what the right answer is, so there has to be a competition of a lot of ideas. And there are proof points, though, in education, in healthcare, information, employment, business opportunities, and so on. And I'm not going to read through it. This will be, I believe, available on the NASCOM site in about a week's time. If you have the interest, you can see it there. But the point is that I think there are some new paradigms that are going to become available. And I think for people who are interested, we should look at this. So now the proof points. Why do I keep calling it proof points? Because I think in terms of the deployment and application of models that are based on ICT, we are still in the early stages. And at that stage, as the maturity, kind of level of maturity and understanding starts to rise, you still have to look for some evidence, are we on the right path? So we just randomly, I took some examples. There is stuff that's going on Dr. Reddy's Foundation, focused on marginalized youth, tailored to that segment of people.